Yo, Joburg, everybody. This is Steve. This is episode 225 of GI Joburg. And we've decided to call this one Take Me to Your Dealer because you're joined by Steve, you're joined by Paul, and rounding out the trio, we have Nicholas Amanatidis of Action Figure Industries. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've had creatives on the show, we've had comic book writers, we've had people in charge of making the toys, but we've never really taken time to talk to someone who actually deals in these beautiful things that rule our lives. Nicholas, how are you doing, sir?
I am absolutely fantastic, and as I've stated before, muchly in awe of being on your show.
You're part of the Berg Force now, baby. Well, as the story goes, when I got to Australia, I immediately discovered various online communities, particularly on Facebook, that were trading in my beloved toy line. There is a fantastic Australian community, very, very big appetite for vintage toys and modern toys, and the name that kept popping up was AFI. So I joined the group and checked out some live auctions. I mean, dude, you are one busy man. You don't just deal in Joe. I mean, can you list the extent of the toy lines that you deal in?
Oh, I can actually. I just finished 28 out of 35 days straight of live auctions. And what do we do for our October one? We had Ghostbusters, Mask, He-Man, Transformers, Star Wars, GI Joe, obviously, which is my predominant one. We had Marvel. In fact, Doctor Who was very big. Star Trek. Whew, take a deep breath.
I got some questions about Doctor Who, but please continue.
Oh, look, Doctor Who. It's a massive community in Australia. The big thing we try and focus on is hey,
Doctor
sorry,
Who.
you got me. You going
Exactly.
What else is Lego?
What items are the big sellers in Doctor Who? Is it primarily a toy line? Like, do people want action figures of their favorite characters, or they're like role play items? Like, what are the big sellers?
Big sellers. You know what? Out of all the brands that I've done, you know what I've found? The Doctor Who is pretty much a broad spectrum. I would put up a book for $1 and it would go for like $30.
Fantastic. People still read.
Believe it or not, I know, right? Whovians definitely still read. In actual fact, one thing that I've always tried to do is be very close to the community that I'm actually dealing with. So on Messenger, we have several chats, private chats. So if you're a part of the AFI group, you get joined to, say you're in New Zealand, I put you in a New Zealand chat. If you're a Whovian fan, you're in a Whovian chat. So you actually get to converse with other collectors from that genre at the same time.
Whew. Hopefully that takes the pressure off you, because I imagine you have a lot of communication all the time with every single buyer. I mean, it's just non-stop answering the phones. But Nick, sorry, mate, we are getting way ahead of ourselves already because obviously there's a lot we can talk about. But as a newcomer to GI Joburg, we got to get your GI Joe identikit. Firstly, it pleases me no end to know that Joe is your main thing.
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about that. I want to put you on the spot and find out what is your ultimate GI Joe toy. And we're going to break it down into factions and vehicles. So your favorite Joe figure, your favorite Cobra figure, your favorite Joe vehicle, and your favorite Cobra vehicle. And when I say Cobra, it could also be Destro's guys as well.
Okay. All right. Well, that's easy. The Joe's easy for me. Yeah. Well, it was always Shockwave from '88. Like he... What? Yeah, always. I remember as a kid, I had Greek family, so I didn't get to buy very many toys for obvious reasons. Always working in the family business. But I remember my first paycheck. I walked down to our local Video Easy store, and I'd walk in there. I'd check the comics out, and there they were. They were just sitting there. And I went, blue, cool, I want, take, that was it. And I tore that sucker off quick.
Well, there's a reason why he's my avatar. He is indeed my favorite action figure as well. And I'm also going to jump the gun a little bit on my new shit and just say that this week past, I celebrated my birthday, and Hans Chow of the Berg Force did an amazing artwork of Shockwave. Beautifully done, very clean, very nicely shaded, very modern, but it's undeniably Shockwave.
How
like
cool
the
is
body
Hans?
armor, the buttons on his lapels,
I like
the knife. the cap, the digi camo, or whatever was the funky GI Joe 1988 equivalent of digital camouflage. Yeah, man, it's a beautiful piece. Thank you, Hans. But please continue, Nick. Your favorite Cobra figure, if you please.
Oh, Cobra was always hard for me, but
Army builder or named character?
Oh, you really did put me on the spot for Cobra. You really did, because Cobra, I was always a Joe fan, and I was Cobra, blah blah blah. But look, I'm gonna say a name that a lot of people probably laugh at, but Buzzer was one of my
Excellent.
Nice.
It was the chainsaw gun. I mean, come on.
Shit, yeah. What a beautifully detailed piece.
Who's taking that down?
It's also the only dreadnought weapon, at least out of the original 3, that makes a little bit more sense as an offensive weapon. I mean, Ripper's got the jaws of life, or jaws of death, if you want to put someone to a very excruciating end. But like, it's not the most practical like attack weapon.
And I know, Monkey Wrench was obviously related to Aquaman.
Very good. Yeah, I didn't know how that gun worked either. Was it sort of a one-shot affair? You just fired this trident and, like, I don't know.
Was he eating with a, like, who knows?
Dude, the teeth on my trident are all like, they've all got stress marks. So I think maybe as a young child, I used that as a fork. It's got bends in all the right places. So yeah. Crazy kid. Anyways, I was going to say, like, of the original 3, the 1985 guys, Torch, who's always pegged as a flamethrower, like, that's an acetylene torch. That's a cutting tool. That's not a flamethrower. But hey, I mean, we took creative licenses, kids. But Buzzer, I will accept, man. That is a great figure. I always loved how he had that kind of rubberized ponytail.
Yes.
It's always cool when there's like a little bit of mixed medium on the action figure. It just feels a bit more deluxe.
He probably should have come with a surfboard, to be honest. Yeah, the ponytail, the sunnies. I mean, like, you could have seen him easily in California.
This might blow your mind a little bit, or might just go for a duck, but like, he's got a tan shirt with all these kind of badges and stuff, and it looks like a more detailed badge than Duke's like jump wings. And Duke's obviously got a tan shirt, and he's also a blonde-haired dude. I always imagined that, like, Buzzer was like some kind of Elseworlds Duke. Like, this is Duke who's kind of gone to the bad side. He's ripped off the sleeves on his, like, battle dress uniform. He's pinned a bunch of other badges because he's practically losing his mind. And he's taken up a chainsaw as his weapon. Anyways, good picks. Good picks. Let's do vehicles.
Oof. Well, look, I never had it. I've sold. I've happily brought the joy to 4 different people in Australia, because obviously shipping a USS Flag from America to Australia is very expensive. Nice. So it's one thing that I believe, which will be the next HasLab item that will come out for GI Joe, which will be the USS Flag. I'm gonna go the USS Flag only because I've never had one ever.
Oof. But it's past your hands. I mean, did you actually inspect it? Did you take it out? I mean, surely you must. Or do you take your guys at their word?
Actually, I've got very, very, very reputable and good suppliers. I've never had an issue. And see, the problem with the USS Flag is because it costs around $700 US to ship in. Mm-hmm. For me to make any money off it would be pointless selling it to an Aussie collector. So because obviously I have my AFI, what I call family, when guys want high-end items like that, I put them in touch with my guy and they buy them direct. So I don't actually make any money off it. I just, guys, if you really want it, I've got a guy that's got it. You do the deal with him, let him ship it direct to you and enjoy. So even the Defiance, I've sold, I think, probably 5.
Jeez.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be portable.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So the Flag would top out. I mean, the Defiance kind of in the second spot. Wow, okay. As your favorite vehicle, like, some would argue that the Flag isn't much of a vehicle, but that's exactly why we put it on wheels once upon a time.
That's true.
Move it around a bit.
Yep.
Bloody unwieldy thing. Okay, dude. I don't know how you're going to top that with Cobra vehicle. And when I say vehicle, it could be boxed items. So the Terradrome would count if you want to like round out the Holy Trinity.
Oh, actually, no. I'm actually not a fan of the Pterodrome. I think that's because I've actually had to pack it myself and ship it out to people. So I'm not a big fan of the circular.
Oh, yes, of course. It doesn't
Yes,
fit boxes very well. You have to put
not
a
at
hell of a
all.
lot of packing material around it to stop it from moving around.
Oh,
Jeez.
yes, very much so. But I would honestly say I believe the Rattler for me is by far, and that's a toughie too because there's some really nice Cobra vehicles out there. I'm actually looking at a few of them right now where I'm like the VTO. There's a lot of nice vehicles, but the Rattler for me is by far probably one of the best vehicles that they created for the Cobra run.
It's tough to beat a classic, and a great pilots as well.
Yes.
Love the contrast of like the red inside this deep blue plane. Yeah, no, it's also the perfect playable size. Like obviously it's undersized compared to the real deal, but it is very accommodating by being so compact. Anyways, we could sing the praises of the Rattler for the whole episode, I'm sure.
We
But
could.
let's swing the mic back over to our third companion over here. Paul, you've been very quiet. Anything new you got in this week, brother?
Ooh, yeah, I did. So something that's really, really awesome about South African fans, and I'm not saying that other fans around the world aren't like this. It's just that we're so used to dealing with the scraps sometimes when it comes to toy collecting and to buying toys from retail, that it's cool to see South African guys looking out for each other. And it was on Thursday. I woke up, had my morning meeting, and while I'm in the middle of my meeting and listening to everybody chat and do their thing and give their updates about work, yeah, super exciting stuff. I'm trolling Facebook, and what do I see? A guy posted, "Hey, Wave 6 is at the store at Toy Zone in Roodepoort. Yeah, I was just there 20 minutes ago, and they got quite a lot of stock. You know, go and get them, guys." And so yeah, I sat there and I was like, just like, chomping at the bit because I wanted this meeting to be finished. And as soon as the meeting was over, I just sort of let the guys know I have to quickly go out for another meeting. And then I phoned Toy Zone and I promptly asked him to keep some figures aside for me. Now here's the thing: the line, the telephone line wasn't good. They couldn't hear me properly. I couldn't hear them properly. It was like jumbled. So I was like, okay, here we go. So I jumped in a DD and I shot off to Toy Zone, and yeah, let me show you what went down. So as I get
I don't
there,
know if they have DD elsewhere. Might just be.
in
It's
South
like
Africa.
an equivalent of Uber. No, DD.
Yeah.
Where's DD? I've seen it
Well-
somewhere else, but certainly not in Oz, or at least not in Townsville. But yes,
Nope.
Paul, you have found those little kingdom dudes.
I found them and I was like,
favorites.
wow, this is so cool, because this is the first time I'd seen the Megatron and this green dude. But the Megatron, I was like, wow, I was thinking, well, I'm here for He-Man. I might as well grab myself a Megatron.
I was about to queue up the bloody He-Man jingle. You surprised me by showing me small Transformers. Aren't they
No,
cute?
well, like, no, don't worry, you can queue up the jingle. But the next picture, this is why I didn't buy any Kingdom Core figures. Because check this out, ladies and gentlemen. That price, that's 399 Rand for a Kingdom Core figure. Okay? Just to put you guys in perspective, a deluxe class Kingdom figure, aka Cheetor, Blackarachnia, or Arachnia, those go for, wait for it, 450 Rand. So you want to tell me that this thing is 3/4 of the value?
So-
it's crazy.
So what's that in Australian dollars?
Just divide by 10. So the core guys at Big W, you can get the core class for $20. In South Africa, it would cost you 30. Gross.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was a bit crazy. So I figured, okay, well, Megatron can stay. And I've got Optimus and I've got Soundwave from this line, which I bought from BBTS and had sent you long ago. Compliments of bots,
And Paul, just to explain to everyone or refresh everyone's memory, the reason you buy these basic, like small versions of beloved Transformers characters is because you think they scale better with the bigger guys. Like you would transform Optimus into his truck mode and then put him next to Grimlock of a different scale. And then
Yeah, I
you'd
just kind
say,
of like
"Oh,
that
giant
idea."
Robot giant,
Yeah.
giant dinosaur next to a small truck. I don't know, man. Transform like a T-Rex isn't bigger than a Semi.
That big, yeah. No, exactly, true. But I initially thought that that's what they were trying to do with this line, is to get them to sort of scale with the Predacon T-Rex and all that a little bit better. But you know what? Ultimately, I just like that they're kind of GI Joe size. They're fun to play with. They're actually really, really cool little toys. Really love the Soundwave. It's probably one of the best Soundwaves I own, in all honesty. Except for the fact that the tape doesn't transform into Laserbeak. It's amazing that it actually has a tape and that the tape deck opens. But anyway, I digress. So as I'm going through, what do I see? Boom!
Yes, we just brought those in.
Yeah, so...
He-Berg.
He-Berg. I love this. Ryan. Anyway, so I promptly, this was actually taken after I'd grabbed my figures off the shelf. And it was cool to see that they actually had all of them. There's plenty of Green Goddess to go around. I could only grab 2, but that's because I was getting a little bit nervous about this line. There's a lot of talks about Wave 6 being in short supply. I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know how much of that is drummed up by individuals who are maybe more paranoid than I am. But so the local guys are just saying, oh, Mattel South Africa says that they can't get Wave 6, blah, blah, blah. So I actually went and bought the Goddess and the Beastman on BBTS, and also grabbed a Stinkor and a Web Store on BBTS, and then
How much were they?
They
weren't bad. They were like $16.
$16
They worked up. They work out. This is the BBTS price. They're $16 on BBTS, if I'm not mistaken, 16 or 18. And then locally, these go for 200 Rand. So that's about $15, more or less.
That's good. That's very good. Wow.
Yeah. So I picked up Stinkor and Web Store for myself.
Does Stinkor actually smell? Come on, man. I'm dying to know.
He does, but it's not a stinky smell. He smells more plasticky than the other He-Man figures. Like, I know it sounds weird, and I actually had to look this up online to see if maybe there was something wrong with my ability to smell. And it turns out, no, it actually is just a more plasticky smell. It doesn't have the patchouli smell of the vintage of the original. So that's a sad face. So as I'm cruising through the toy aisles, exactly, lame. I was also hoping it would be a stinky figure. But so I'm cruising through the toy aisle, and I see these guys, these DC dudes. I don't understand why they are casting some of these.
DC
why are they making them gold?
Guys.
It's just weird. It's just weird.
I got nothing.
Yeah, squeeze a bit more money out of the consumer. It's
maybe
like,
if she was invisible to go with the invisible jet, I get it, but gold.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's not the first one I've seen in gold, so
Wonder Woman being in gold, at least there's some precedent. Like Wonder Woman 84, okay, she wasn't gold skinned, but like her armor was
that cool gold armor.
That's true.
But still, look, those collectibles, they definitely are just whoa. Sorry, Paul, you're distracting me with a playset that I've never seen.
Yeah, so this is a big playset that's shaped like Batman, and it opens up, and it looks like quite a lot of fun. Yeah.
Is it scaled for the 4-inch guys?
It is, yeah. I think it actually comes with a Batman. Yeah, so and that thing's about $3,000, but it's
$300.
But it's over, it's over 33 inches tall. That's 83 centimeters.
US. I think that's. Would you say that dollar value is like two-thirds the number of the Oz dollar value? Am I making any sense, Nick?
Oh, you mean like 300 Australian to 200 US?
200 US. Would that track?
That's a good approximation. Yeah, for sure.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Easy 225.
Yeah.
That's
so this
huge.
thing looks like fun, man. It
That's
looks
huge.
And it comes with a Batmobile, and it's got a little training area there with an upside down Wing Chun dummy, and it's got some cool stuff going for it. I'm I'm excited about these on clearance or finding them on the secondary market when a whole bunch of kids in 2 years' time get rid of them. But
Well,
because
it
I'm not
sure
going to
beats
spend
the
three.
previous Batcave that Spin Master made for that line, which uses just a lot of cardboard, and I'm like, eh,
Lame. Yeah.
give
Yeah.
me something with a bit more plastic construction, please.
In this
for
day and
my
age.
buck.
I'm hoping to
Yeah.
find this dude at some point though. Like
King Shark.
King Shark. Yeah, I'd love to get a King Shark from this line just because one thing I got to say about Spin Master's line, I love that they play
You
around
can
with
give them
these
to your
giant
kids
proportions.
and feel no pain. They're very durable.
No,
But
so
that's the single carded King Shark, if I'm not mistaken. The
Correct,
one who
yeah.
has a more shark-like face came with like some kind of mecha biting mask. I don't know.
thing.
I'm not explaining
And so
it
as
very
I'm
well.
like, so as I'm trolling, I also saw this, which was a fun looking little vehicle. Comes
Oh,
with
the
a
big
very
draw
buff
is
looking
Mr.
Mr.
Freeze.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the Mr. Freeze is cool in there. Although he looks a bit buff, but like I like this vehicle. I think it's really
Well,
cool.
what is unfortunately the most notorious appearance of Mr. Freeze? It's
Mm-hmm.
not Batman the animated series. It's Arnold.
Which is so
It'll
sad because
always be
the
Arnold.
What
But it's also like the
the Ice Age.
and I mean
Oh,
Mr.
no.
Freeze like is just such a great character. I really love Mr. Freeze. And also this Bane is badass. Look at that. Like I love how chunky he is. And this bike is cool. I dig this bike. I may actually buy this set for myself.
Oh, Paul. Okay, good. Well, I've been
anyway.
enjoying this action figure line for a little while. But yeah, don't put your back out trying to find them. That King Shark. If I'd known you wanted one, they came and
Oh,
went this side of the pond, this side of
I
the two oceans.
Oh man, I totally didn't even think to ask you because a local toy shop had him on their website, and I'd actually ordered it from the website, and then they sent me an email like, "Oh, sorry, we can't get that one. Even though it's listed on the website, we actually didn't receive stock." So I'm like, "Wow, it's like amateur hour." But anyway, you know, like that kind of irritated me. But anyway, here's my Stinkor. He is at my home. I just posted him there because it was fun to put him with my other toys. And then web
The
store.
Shrine of Stinkor.
And then there's web store. Web store is actually such a great toy. Like really fun. Like I had a lot of fun with web store. I didn't think I would enjoy web store as much as I do.
Do you always pronounce it web store? Because that sounds like something, you know,
Like a web store, like an
from
online
the
store.
90s.
Online
Yeah.
store.
Like
You
an
can't say
internet
Web
cafe.
Star because obviously
Yeah.
you're thinking of the Cosby Kids all of a sudden.
Exactly.
Webster.
So,
Yeah,
like that's
jeez.
why I'm very like deliberate with that because I would think he would have been cooler if he was called Spy Door, but whatever. But yeah, he just looks so badass, man. I dig him. He's just great, and it's cool because these two figures kind of because as much as I enjoy He-Man, I don't know the lore and stuff that well. But it's kind of cool because they round out my my Masters of the Universe evil mercenaries, bad guys kind of unit. You know, you got Stinkor and Triclops and Trapjaw and what's the other one? I mean, okay, Ninja technically is not really part of that group in my mind. But anyway, it's just like it was cool to have them all like stacked up and ready to do some damage, and that was fun. So yeah, so that was my toy hunting. I managed to get 2 toys this week, and I feel quite happy about it. So yay!
Did Celia have an opinion on any of the new hauls?
Oh yeah, no, she she was so excited because I come out of the meeting and I'm like, because she was actually at home. She hadn't gone to work yet because she was still doing reports and stuff. And I'm like, babe, like Stinkor and Web Store at the toy shop. She's like, are you going? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay. I'm like, she's just excited for me, and I actually waited for her to get home from work before I opened Web Store because I opened Stinkor immediately. But I waited for Celia to get home to open the web store because I thought that would be cool, you know. Links, like, you know, get her in on the fun.
Say it, the web store.
Yeah, I know, but it's just weird to call him Webster because then I also think of that show that was on TV.
All right.
When I was a kid.
Nick, I shudder to think, man. In terms of new acquisitions this past
Oh.
week, long list.
Where would you like? You know what? The biggest one that I was really happy to get, and we were actually talking about scalping, Paul and I, just before the show started, and it's really interesting. But because we're an Australian-based business, obviously we can't walk into Walmart. as you know, Steve. We don't have a Walmart here, and a lot of the American products don't actually get stocked. So when my new supplier came up and said, "Hey, would you be interested in some WWE Motu?" I went, look, I got wave 1 through to 3 in, and I didn't
I've got
sell
a
very well.
guy who's a big fan of Sergeant Slaughter.
It's funny though. I didn't know what was in wave 7 when he said it to me, but I brought wave 1 and 3 in, and it was no good. So I sold it to a local guy who's a big wrestling seller, and he's actually, I supply him with wrestling figures. And I thought, oh, look, what's in it? And he showed me it was Sergeant Slaughter. I went, you know what? What's the time frame? What's the price? He told me. I went, oh, I don't know if people are going to want to pay like $75 Australian for a figure is a lot. Because obviously, you know, I'd love to sell things for cost price, but I got to pay rent, food, and kids through school, as they say. But I thought I'll throw them up there. Sold out in 3 hours. I went, okay. And it was only like 10 sets. So I thought, look, how many can you get me? He said, look, I can do up to 30. I said, look, I'll put them up. Sold out in 9 hours.
I should probably get this from the horse's mouth, but how many of those units did Zazel grab?
Zazel, he'll probably listen to this, and you know what? I'm going to give it up right now and let him know. He's actually getting a free one.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Yes. Well, yes.
You
It
have
was going to
added
be a
to
surprise.
I mean, you know about his quest to have 777 Sergeant Slaughters.
I have been adding to his quest very, very often, actually.
You've paved that road.
So we got the WWE in, which was really good. With that deal, though, I was able to get a lot of Hasbro Pulse stuff in. So a lot of the Star Wars, like Thrones and the Bad Batch, that we don't get here, and obviously that we can't buy from Hasbro because they're exclusives unless you ship from one place to another place to Australia. It's crazy. So the other thing I got in, which was really cool of my own collection, because I'm a very big Rise of Cobra fan, was I picked up about 20 vehicles and about 100 figures. Excuse me.
Oh my word! Wow.
Well, that preempted a question that I did have for you about whether or not you managed to maintain your own collection and the business, or is everything up for sale?
So
you've got stuff that is yours.
It's very hard. Very hard. The amount of auctions that I do, that I have things going through my hands going, you know what? I could probably just no.
Slap that hand.
Pretty much.
Nick, Rise of Cobra. Wow, that is interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
For a guy who likes Shockwave, who likes the Flag, who likes all these classics, Buzzer et al. Like Rise of Cobra was a completely different aesthetic, and you like it?
I love it. Absolutely.
Right.
I don't know what it is about the line. I just love. I think it's the way the figures were carded. The vehicles were pretty cool. Just a modern swing. Look, the movie sucked. Sure. I'm not going to argue with you there. It sucked. I'm not going to. At no
maybe
point.
We have to dance around that point. Like,
nope. Movie sucked.
100%.
Seriously, so Trey bad. But having said that, the toy line, even though it wasn't popular in Australia, for me, I thought it was brilliant. Like, I loved the way they modernized the GI Joe line. They took the vintage into play, like even Shock Blast, because obviously Hasbro lost the rights to Shockwave, which a lot of people don't realize. That's why we have a Shock Blast, GI Joe, not a Shockwave. Even him in the Toys R Us exclusive packs, it was just a sensational figure. Very much exactly the same as the vintage one.
Sure, yeah, I got one of those myself. Okay, awesome. I just remember the Rise of Cobra toy line, it feeling like a clean break. Obviously it was. I mean, the packages were different and everything, but the 25th anniversary, while it gave us these kind of idealized versions of the classics, it wasn't doing anything new, and also in retrospect hasn't necessarily aged that well. Like, there's some weird proportion issues. It seems like by the time we got Rise of Cobra and the movie toys, that had all been sorted out. Everyone had great ranges of motion back. The double knees, the elbows could finally go past 90 on some of the figures. Yeah, man, Rise of Cobra was kind of a watershed moment, and I think, well, I'm just glad that you find some preference for it, because a lot of collectors snub it as like, ugh,
they hate
tainted by that movie. But
they army build everything.
The movie design Storm Shadow hasn't really been surpassed. Like, they went back to the well of that same design with this latest Snake Eyes movie. just this cool, like ultra modern, like double-breasted sort of jacket with a high collar and the mask, and like it's what would you call it? Coattails? What would you call
Yeah.
that, Paul?
Yeah,
The
I
sort
would
of
say
long
it's like
tunic.
it's just a long jacket. It just looks cool. And then
It's tight, man. It's a very like svelty update. You
I
know,
would
it's
I would
not
dress like that.
not the 80s anymore. Like putting pajamas on screen just doesn't work. Hey, man. Okay, wicked. That's amazing. What kind of vehicles did you pick up? Did you pick up a few rolling operations? Come on. Oh no, was it called the pits? The
The mobile
GI
pit.
Joe.
Mobile
Yeah.
pit.
I have 9 of those already mint in box.
9.
So
What do you do
Whoa.
with 9 of them?
I don't. Well, they're in the laundry right now in boxes, just in their mailer boxes. Look, I army build it. I've always had this dream of one day I'll have a shop front, not so much like old school where kids and families could come, they could check out the toys, they could buy the toys, but right in the middle was a big massive island, Cobra Island, and you could like step up, you could go upstairs, you could look down on it, or you could walk around it. And I wanted to use the Rise of Cobra figures as the benchmark for the Cobra Island. So you'd have like all the Ravens there. I think I had at one stage 15, but I've only got like 9 left now. But most of my stuff is mint in pack. I don't really do loose.
All right.
So space is very hard,
No
as
doubt.
you could imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, having them loose presents a different problem altogether. But like, yeah, mint in box, you can stack them better. But that takes up just a little bit more space, wouldn't you find?
Oh, yes.
You've got this wall of boxes. Jeez, Nick. Okay. Oh, just before we shift focus again, on the topic of Zazel Phoenix of Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse, this weekend past he premiered yet another episode of his Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championships.
Yes.
The link will be in the description below. I checked out the premiere. The guy really knows how to play with his toys. He doesn't just collect figures. Yeah, man. He strings
He's
together some
great.
superb action figure adventures. And while the wrestling is always good and action-packed, I must say he's building the intrigue of this world. It's an awesome piece of work. 3 episodes deep and really looking forward to number 4. So yes, check it out. The title bout is Blanca versus Taurus.
Oh, it was Blanca and Taurus. I wasn't sure. I saw
Yeah.
Taurus's face, but I wasn't sure if Taurus got through.
Well, Zazel does some great promotions work. Like this week past, he's been putting up clips of like Taurus in training and like banners of the characters. So yeah, it's a real treat. I'm so thrilled to see this guy, living the dream, man.
Oh, yeah.
Playing with
And
his
he's
toys for our benefit.
And the beautiful thing about Zazel is he's a long-time collector, and he's actually a really nice person. The amount of video chats that we've had together, just in regards to, I've actually asked him too, what does he think about me bringing, like, when I brought Action Force in, what his thoughts were on it when we discussed it. So I actually take a lot of the community's feedback on board when I do look at lines to bring in. And Zazel's, look, a great guy all around.
Well, it was my drinking buddy until he left Townsville. Bastard. But yeah, no, he's actually formed like a personal relationship with Sergeant Slaughter, and that's just the coolest story of all. Like your childhood idol, who's still very much in the game, in the biz, going to conventions, doing signings, making appearances, and now in the age of the internet, this wobbly-toothed kid from Australia looking up at his wrestling hero in awe in the 80s and 90s now actually is able to chat live with the guy. It's killer. It's awesome.
Yeah,
But
I
as
envy him on that one.
the episode. Oh, what, Nick, who was your childhood hero?
Oh, I don't know if I want to say it because it flies in the face of Zazel. He might not talk to me ever again.
Iron
And
Sheik.
you guys
Oh,
might
no,
laugh.
Hulk.
No, even worse. I was a Butterbean fan actually back in the day. I know.
Wow.
See, y'all just took a step back. Then went, why did we get him on the show? This is ridiculous.
Guys, help me and a portion of the audience. Who the hell is Butterbean?
Oh, you've never heard of Butterbean, the American wrestler?
Oh man, that's a part of my childhood that just didn't feature at all. There were kids that were into wrestling big time. I couldn't look past the fact that like it was so obviously and patently scripted. Like I thought, I was dumb enough as a kid to think, no, man, wrestling needs to be like real and a competitive sport. Like I didn't get back then that it was for the entertainment value. It was a drama that was unfolding week to week, much like any kind of sort of serialized episodic show of the time. But anyways, getting back to Butterbean, Nick, who
Think
the hell
of
is
Days
that?
of Our Lives, right?
Oh,
Think
dear.
of Days of Our Lives, but as a
I try not
sporting
to.
background.
Headlocks and
As-
suplexes.
And exactly, that's all it was. Like you had a boxing champion roll up in there, and look, he was the underdog. You look at him, you go, really, what are you doing in the why are you in the wrestling ring?
Was he a big boy?
He was a
Heavy
big
set?
boy.
Yeah,
He was a
Okay.
big boy. Butterbean was.
Also, and he's still I think he's still even fighting. I mean, as of like 7 years ago, I think he was still doing some fights as well, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That astounds me. I mean, sure, I know it's probably rehearsed, or it must be rehearsed, and their kind of appearances are somewhat limited, but still, to get into the ring at a ripe old age, I mean, my knees are going, and I'm 37 years young. Like, what the hell?
I hear you there. I can tell you, I do CrossFit every week, and my shoulder's very sore, and I'm only like 42, so I hear you very well there. They can
These
do it.
boys are
Defeats
in
me.
their 60s and 70s.
And they're rocking and
Unbelievable.
rolling. How old's Kane now? What's he, like 112?
in and out of a Lazarus pit. Well, that's incredible, man. What was it about Butterbean that pulled you in? As you say, underdog.
Yeah,
but
I think it was
did he
the
have just
underdog.
this great personality. What was his
Yeah,
thing?
as a kid, for me, I was more heavy set. So,
Okay.
I always looked at it as like people would look at you. You know what it was like when we were at school. You had those groups. He just was the guy that was like, you know what? I don't care what you think. This is me. Come on, bring it. If you think you can say whatever you want in life, but until I am on the canvas, you can't say anything. That's what I loved about him. It's like, okay, yeah, you got muscles. You're 6 foot. The hand came out like the Rock and said, come on. That's what I loved about him.
And he's an impressive. I mean, I think even now with the fighting side of things, I think he's actually doing actual fights. He's not doing entertainment entertainment wrestling or anything. He's actually doing. I hate to use this term, real wrestling, because in a lot of ways WWE is actually really very real. It's a lot of stunt work and a lot of like hard work. So no offense to the WWE guys, but I think he's been doing some cage stuff actually, old Butterbean. Well, he was.
He's in his 50s, so I think he's like 55, 56 now. So
yeah, so
I don't
like
know.
I think and I'm talking about like a few years ago, or maybe it is just like videos that we had watched a while back, and it is actually from fights that he had earlier on in his career. But he's quite formidable, that dude. Actually, I mean, to see him in something like WWE. Or what is it? I think he was in WCW as well, whatever. I don't know why I know so much about this. Actually, I do know why, but I'm not going to go into it. I was never a big fan of this. I was just always a spectator of it. My buddy Dave, he loves WWE, like big time. And of course, as kids, we used to always like punch and fight and wrestle and stuff. I mean, David was like my ultimate sparring partner growing up. And so, yeah, the sharpshooter, the razor's edge. What is that? I haven't been suplexed, but like, yeah, we I've been in a few locks because of David, thanks to WWE. And I've learned, like, I've got a bit of floor game because of it, thankfully. But yeah, man, that's the extent of my WWE knowledge. But then, David talks and he's excited about it. So I'm like, And I'm like, I'd far prefer him speaking about WWE or WCW or whatever it is instead of Man United. No offense to football.
Oh, that's funny. In
Yes.
actual fact, it's funny you say football. Actually, one of my relatives played for the South African national team during the World Cup. There you go.
What?
Yes, you just reminded me, believe it or not. After we won Euro, my cousin played for the Greek national team in 1994, but your Greek. Oh, now I'm going to forget. I'm going to look really bad. So he's obviously not going to listen to this, which is really good. But he did play in the South Africa World Cup when you guys had it there.
Nick, I'm going to confess that my mother's Greek, so
We're
Yeah.
probably related then. Fair enough. That's okay.
indeed. So, Christopoli. Guys,
Bravo.
as I say, I I celebrated a birthday this week past.
Yay! Tell us
and
about it.
Of course, I got some swag.
Oh,
Oh,
show us the
yes, yes.
swag.
Oh, yay. Not much. One being the microphone that you're currently listening to me on. The other being a delightful transformer from a bygone era called Blackarachnia.
Ooh,
Oh,
let's
yeah,
go
wow.
Blackarachnia. Dig it.
Bloody amazing. Like, I think to myself, wow, you really get an idea of the diminishing returns of modern Transformers, because this is, I don't know what the class designation is, but this isn't a big figure. And yet she's enormous. I mean, being a female Transformer, she's never going to come with a lot of plastic. Like, she's limber, she's lean, but just the size of it. Hey,
So nasty. Ugh.
it's nasty, and it's purple, which is the perfect color for any Decepticon creepy crawly. Okay, I know she's not a Decepticon at this point. She's actually a Maximal in the... Okay, sorry, I should specify. This is the Beast Machine's Blackarachnia.
Right.
So she's
okay.
purple with these violently beautiful, translucent yellow or lurid green sections. It's like perfect Decepticon color.
What is that? A deluxe? A deluxe size?
I wouldn't know. I think the size classes have changed over the years, and I can't remember what they were called back in her day. So, I'm useless. Transformers are not my area of expertise. But
Don't worry,
of course, doing some show and tell as well.
I also wanted to have a creepy Decepticon that was yellow and purple.
my box of all those is out in the lounge room, so I can't show any. So.
Soz, brother. But yeah, she's incredible and like such a satisfying and simple transformation. You literally just slam her legs together and she's halfway there. But
I just read one of the comments there. One would think in Australia you got actual spiders. Just you know what? My daughter literally just jumped out of my ex-wife's car today because there was a tree spider the size of her hand. So yes, you are right. Chasing 80s toys.
Yeah. I mean,
Look
I
at
love
this.
spiders. I think they're like fascinating creatures, but I don't know. My blood still runs cold when I see them, especially when they're over a certain size.
Anything over invisible, I'm done. So.
guys, like I say, she's
Wow.
a big figure, man.
Yeah, that's a big
And
figure. Yeah,
Beautiful.
looks like it's Voyager size.
Proportions. Yeah, and my favorite feature of all, like Blackarachnia in this sculpt actually looks like a female. She kind of looks like the Baroness with this long black hair. The original Blackarachnia in Beast Wars was actually just Tarantulas repaint, so it didn't look very feminine at all. But not only does she have light piping, oh, you're actually not going to see that. Damn. I thought I was being so clever with a torch. Like, who's
She looks like
awesome
she has light
Transformers
piping in
of-
the abdomen.
She's got
Yeah.
light piping all over the place, guys. It's, as I
Wow.
said, beautifully done with all the translucent plastic.
That's a
But
lovely
she's
figure.
She's got this crest that opens up to reveal her. So it's sort of closed, and then you push it up, and she's got additional eyes. She's got these sort of
Oh, wow.
arachnid eyes, which
Sweet.
the light.
What a cool
piping
toy,
makes-
dude. That's
It's
like
actually
really
really
rad.
cool.
Ah, shit. So, anyways, I saw it and I loved it and I had to have it. Impulse buy, even though I'm not a Transformers guy. But she's gorgeous, terrifying. My wife hates her. She's like, don't come near me with that thing. She doesn't like it. Anyway,
So we
leave it at
both
the end
got
of the
spider
night.
toys this week.
Yeah.
I know, right? The other thing that I got, and I didn't know as growing up that Webster was an arachnid, but hey, now I know. That
They should have
explains
called him
his
Spider.
bloody grapple gimmick. Anyway,
Which is great.
The other, I know, right? Who knew?
So great.
It was broken by the time I inherited it from my brother. So obviously,
Apparently
I
they
didn't
break
know.
easy. Yeah.
Well, the vintage, yeah, they're
Yeah.
very thin. And once it's snapped open, you can see that the plastic is not a clean press. Like there's like air bubbles inside that plastic, that purple plastic, which is like, oh,
I'm
they're
feeling
all time
like
bombs.
Steven has a Mudbuster there.
You know,
It
it
looks like a
Nick.
Mudbuster.
Yeah, I
Hey.
thought it was. There she
I-
is.
I finally bought this bad boy from old 93. It's a satisfying, chunky little wagon. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, man.
But now that I
I
have
loved
it
your
in
review.
hand, I realize what it is about it that's so weird. Okay, so the bed is proportionate to the cab, fine. But then it's got this teeny tiny little hood. The bonnet is so short.
So you know what the story with that one there is, yeah?
Well, I'm starting to think that it was made for a different scale.
Well, there's
Like
two
one-
different
1/20
toys.
Smashed. Sorry, you're talking about the ice snake, the shared parts
Correct.
of the ice
Yeah.
snake?
Yeah. What
Right.
they did was they repurposed the parts.
Mm. And did you know, Nick, that the wheels come from the hammer?
Correct. Aha, Mr. Juba. Boom, boom.
Not gonna be able to fool
I
you,
like
man.
that one, Steve. But it's amazing though when you think about it, how they repurpose so much.
Smart, making a whole new vehicle, but I honestly thought that like the scaling was off because it's got these token doors. It's even got a little door handle,
But it doesn't open.
but it doesn't open. But I mean, it's comically undersized for even a 3 3/4 inch Joe. And then when I look into the cab, I've got Spirit in there.
So cool.
It's a nice
Much jealous.
cab. They sit nice and deep into it, but almost too deep. Like they should be sitting up there, I think. You know, if you think about where a car door comes up to you, like you should be able to rest your elbow on it. But no, he's all the way down there, which is, as I say, I'm not going to complain. It's a great thing that this is
I
so
like
armored.
it though.
It looks like
he looks
something
snug in
either
there.
Dreadnought or something
Yeah.
the A team would cobble together at the end of the episode.
It's underrated.
It's great fun, and because it's a 1993 vehicle and they're pretty affordable, I have no qualms about rampaging this thing through the lawn, which is as it should be.
Exactly.
And it's very satisfying. It's got a nice high ride, good clearance, good toy, great.
No one
fun.
has a suspension, right? Still has that's the one with the suspension. Like it actually.
I believe so, but
Yeah.
I don't get much give out of it. It's got a kind of a plastic leaf spring to it. I don't know if I can show it on camera, but yeah, right.
Yeah, right there.
Right there. That should give it some bounce, but it's not like the Ore Strikers. It doesn't.
No, that's a beautiful car. That's a great vehicle.
But a sort of element of fragility as well. Like, true to say that in 1985 they were building them to last, whereas by 1993 it was just get the toy out the door. But even so, like even the 85 stuff is coming apart, man. You got to be very careful with your Silver Mirages and your Ore Strikers.
Or your
Anyways,
snowcats.
guys, indeed.
You'll crush the thread the tread with your one hand.
Don't say that.
Oh yeah, be very careful with those. I can tell you, I have about 500 snowcat parts here, and I literally test them before I sell them. I'll hold them in one hand and squeeze the tread, and if it crackles, it goes in the bin. It was they used cheap plastic.
Do you think maybe like people were playing with them in the snow, and that's caused them to have like
Such a cool
fragility
vehicle, man.
issues?
What they found was
Sorry.
it was the company where they made them, because a lot of the stuff you'll see, what was it? You'll notice on the, I think it's the Tiger Rat, you got like a different, you got the same stamp, but it's got like Mexico.
Where
it's got, like,
Cat.
Tiger Cat, sorry, yeah. You'll have like a different stamp, like South American stamp. When they moved the manufacturing, apparently they'd use cheaper plastics. And what you'll find is with the Snowcat, it just happened to be the Snowcat, the black tread, it's just the degradation over time. Because let's be realistic, put in perspective, that Snowcat is actually 36 years old.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, the amount of oxygen and air, and like you said, even snow, dirt, all that sort of stuff, eventually over time, it does wear into it. But the Snowcat tread is one of the funny ones because, like I said, I've got like 100 Snowcat treads here. And when I buy bulk lots of vehicles and I strip them down and clean them, I will literally grab them, hold it in my hand and go crunch. Okay, that's going in the bin.
Okay. Well, good for you, man. Like I can imagine a lot of sellers out there who aren't as savvy. I mean, that would be stock in trade, and then the buyer gets it, and then it's a debacle. It's like
Exactly. Yeah. No.
Did it happen in transit? Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, yeah, you don't want to get that mess on your hands. Very good. And you just reminded me of a story. Paul, do you remember when we joined Michael Mercy on his cartoon commentaries for the Mass Device?
Yes, yeah, I do recall. Yeah.
Well, shortly after that, he was saying like, "I love how you guys play with your stuff in the wild. I'm thinking of doing the same thing." And then he did his first Toys Gone Wild episode
With
with
the
the
snowcat.
snowcat.
Yeah.
Yes. And while it's an amazing video, and I urge anyone listening to this to check it out, he had a bit of breakage happening. I mean, Canada is properly cold, and so the black fender on the side of the snowcat, he said, just snapped right off, like
Oh.
busted. Yeah, no, it's very sad. Though he's pretty chipper about it in the video. I mean, it's unfortunate, but he got some use out of it. He played with his toy, and I will always applaud that. But yeah, that's why I was thinking, Nick, that maybe exposure to cold, like, will alter the plastic, like, forever. It's
100%.
Extreme cold, and then you kind of bring it into a warm environment, and while it might not break down immediately, like the damage is already done, it's become a time bomb. Anyways, this is utterly depressing. Jan, should we do a quick round of what's been watching, reading, or playing this past week?
Totally, but before we do that, can I just do a small little shout out just to the man we call Darren Cobb? It was also his birthday this week.
Happy Darren.
Happy birthday,
Darren. Lego. He got the Razor Crest from his girlfriend. What?
Yep, that's a keeper right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, the girlfriend.
Well, yeah, the girlfriend, Darren, the girlfriend. Both, but more
I mean,
so
obviously the
girlfriend.
Razor Crest as well.
Yeah.
But cool, yeah. So, so what are you watching, playing, or reading, Steve?
No, let's swing it over to our guest first. Nick, hit us, man. Do you get any time to actually do any of those leisure activities?
I did, and you know what? I had my daughter over for the weekend, and literally it was only last night I finally got a chance to watch Shang-Chi.
Me too.
I saw two.
Oh.
Well, that makes three of us. Okay. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. No, I don't know. Can you spoil this movie? I don't think there's a spoiler.
I don't think you can. The only suggestion I would have is if you're going to watch it and you haven't, watch All Hail the King first before you watch it like we did. It's only a 13-minute thing on Disney, but my daughter didn't want to watch the movie. She said, "This looks lame." Her exact words. She's 11. She watched the 13-minute one. She went, "Oh, this is lame. He's so boring." 5 minutes into the movie, we were playing Uno, and I went, "It's your turn." She goes, "Can we just watch the movie?" I went, "Of course, my dear." So she was all into it. And as soon as certain things came out, she was like glue-eyed on it. Finished the movie, went, "Is that it? Is there another one? Is there a second part? Does it go again? Is there another movie coming?" I'm like, "Relax, December. I can't wait that long."
So she watched All Hail the King, which is the kind of epilogue to Iron Man 3. But had she watched Iron Man 3?
Yes, she has.
Okay, good. So she wasn't plunged in at the deep end, like, who the hell is this Mandarin guy? Who is Trevor Slattery? Like,
No, she has having a dad. She's actually been on some of my auctions, so she's very well known to the toys.
I don't know how you run them on your own. It must be maddening to be tracking the chat on one hand, like playing to the camera, like with the rest of you, and then also jotting down who gets like what. Anyways, that's proper skill, dude. I enjoy watching the professional at work. You continue. Shang-Chi, guys, did we love it? Did we hate it? Are we indifferent to it?
Loved it.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was a great kung fu flick. I'm kind of a little jaded about Marvel stuff, and Steve, I think you know this because during the course of the week we've been having a bit of a back and forth about I just seen Shang-Chi and I let Steven know my thoughts. For the most part, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like a fun film. I enjoyed the action sequences. I especially love that the camera angles used for the action sequences. It was cool to see that kind of camera work used. Like, for example, when you see him in the bus and it's shot from the outside of the bus. I love that. That was very cool. I also enjoyed that a lot of the kung fu was done with feet on the ground, as opposed to it wasn't a lot of like wushu, crazy, mad
wire work,
acrobatic stuff. And like I'm fine with that. I was just glad that it wasn't in it. It was refreshing to have a lot of
there was plenty of it though as well. But I get your point. It wasn't full on Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon all the time.
Yeah, it was more you could see, literally watching the movie, you could see someone physically doing what they were doing based on like us watching things like Bruce Lee and that. You go,
Exactly.
okay, well, you know what? That's realistic. The quote, like the 1-inch punch, all that sort of stuff. That was fantastic. The biggest thing that I loved about Shang-Chi though was it was like watching Ant-Man again. Like you had your Luis, you had Kim. You know, like you had that one character that was always making that one funny comment right at the right time. I thought that was a beautiful thing. That's the one thing I love about the Marvel series, though, that they've kept it full on with action, beautiful cinematography, great storyline, and they've also kept the humor going after we finished Endgame. Because let's be realistic, we just spent a solid 10 years building this epic saga of Infinity War and Endgame. And for guys like me that actually read the comic books, and that's how I judge a TV show, like they're bringing out my favorite characters. I grew up with Captain America and Thor. I expected to see a certain, not so much character, but personality. My idea of Captain America, Chris Evans played it to a T. My idea of Thor's character and like his personality was played to a T. Now, I've never read a Shang-Chi book, so I had no idea. So I was going into that blindfolded, and I was blown away.
Cool, good. Well,
Yeah,
I think that speaks for most of us. Shang-Chi is not, not one of the top tier characters by any stretch. Wonderful that he has a solo movie, and hopefully it's building into a kind of a refresh of the Avengers roster.
And also, I loved seeing a lot of the like. There's a style of kung fu called bagua, or bagua shang, is more correct. And a lot of what is taught in that sort of mystical land by I can't even think of the name's character now, but by his
Gung
aunt.
Bo?
Yeah, like she does a lot of the bagua stuff, and she shows him a lot of the bagua, and she does it properly. Like it's done. Well, of course she does it properly. She's a trained martial artist, but it's just cool to see it on screen being used without being too like it wasn't overcooked. It was used the way it should be used. You know what I mean? And I mean obviously it's a movie that creates set pieces for these things to work. But it's just cool to see that because that's a lot of this. Like I've been taught a lot of that stuff, and it's interesting because you can see how well trained certain guys are in that movie. Like, and this is maybe a little bit of a critique, but also maybe an acknowledgement of style. But the main character's martial arts sort of abilities are much better than say the sort of henchmen and whatever's because on camera you can actually see the distinction. You can see where some characters actually move better than the others.
Come on, Paul, you're looking at the fight double. Surely.
But that's what I'm. Yeah, but I said the character. I'm not talking about the actor. I'm
Yeah,
talking
no,
about-
sure. No,
But
that definitely made
but,
Shang-Chi the best martial artist in his A.
but make no mistake, dude. Michelle Yeoh, she is a
yeah?
world champion kung fu martial artist. Eh?
Yes.
I make no mistake.
Yeah.
But
No, sorry.
we live in this incredible era where your fight double can effectively wear your face. Have you seen this technology, guys?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
wear a kind of a
Deep
sock.
faking, dude.
Yeah, deep faking. But I mean, you can help the animators or the visual effects team by wearing those kind of locator markers, the little stipples.
Oh yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But anyway,
Incredible.
long story short, really enjoyed it. One of my favorite things in the whole movie, I don't want to spoil. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, please go and check it out. I will say maybe it wouldn't hurt to watch Iron Man 3 beforehand. Just a thought. And that's where I'll leave it with Shang-Chi because that was great. Good
And
one.
definitely wait to the very end.
Very, very, very end.
Very,
after all of the
very end.
credits.
After
Is
everything.
there a person on the planet who goes into a Marvel movie
Yes,
not
I've seen
expecting
it.
to wait to the
I've seen those
Really?
people, dude.
I
They
saw
get up,
it.
they leave.
Even at the end of Spider-Man, after Endgame finished, they still left. And I went, really, guys? After 13 years? You still
like,
haven't
geez.
figured it out.
I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
go
Is
to
mom
school.
waiting outside for you? Is she getting annoyed with you? Like, come on.
I need a pee.
Hold it.
All right, boys. Anything else we've been watching, reading, or playing?
Oh, dude, lots.
I started watching the Cowboy Bebop live adaptation through like very, very, very drooping eyelids. So it's probably not the kindest review.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna wait for Rob to get back in the mix before we talk about that.
Yeah, I would like
All-
to save that for Rob because I know Darren is quite excited to hear our thoughts on that as well.
Well,
As
this comes
is,
back to the bigger debate at hand, and that's like going back to beloved animations and remaking them. I mean, this is Disney's newest cash cow. Doing with Aladdin, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. Now we've got anime shows being adapted to live action. Turns out they're shooting One Piece. Where are they shooting One Piece, Paul? In Cape Town. Bloody
wow.
hell.
Oh,
I
Kills me. I could be in
and
an anime, you bastards.
you could
Bloody hell.
totally have been in that. Although I don't want to say too much about that, but I don't feel that One Piece should be live action ever.
No, but
It's
the argument could be
beautiful for
made
being
for
anime.
all of them. But yes, of course, like, don't remake the wheel. Like, it's perfect. You can't
Exactly.
surpass the original source material, so why do you bother? Well, to make a buck, basically. I
With
think
Cowboy
Disney's
Bebop,
shown us that.
with Cowboy Bebop, I can sort of understand why there has been a movement to doing a live action because so many other things have borrowed from or stolen from Cowboy Bebop that I feel like Cowboy Bebop should have at least as a live action or should be able to represent itself in a live action format. I also feel like the anime was kind of written for that to work as a live action. It's one of those animes that are quote unquote more realistic, more grounded in reality in terms of its style. But I don't want to get into that. Let's save it for when Rob's here, and then we can all talk dirty about Cowboy Bebop. I
Mm.
I managed to this week check out No Time to Die, the James Bond film. I finally got a chance to check it out.
oh, wow. Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had such a great time watching that movie. It was so cool. Like I can understand some of the critique leverage towards it, but I felt it was fantastic. They totally did steal from Metal Gear though in some respects. Steal maybe is not a fair. No, steal is fair because they did
Or
take
did
those
Metal
things and they-
Gear steal from them?
No. Metal Gear preceded James Bond. At least in some of the stylistic choices here, it preceded James Bond. But wow, but then again, as you said, Nick, Metal Gear. Obviously, I mean, Hideo Kojima loves spy movies and Bond and all that stuff. So obviously, elements of that have been distilled into Metal Gear. So I suppose it's fine that James Bond can take some of those back that have been sort of refined or.
You're telling me
distilled.
the new Bond movie has literally joined two of my favorite things. Like, hello, I'm out there. I'm watching this.
Dude, if you haven't checked
Get
it
in,
out,
Nick. Get
Yeah,
I
in.
haven't
get
been
in
able
there.
to see it. I don't get much time. Like I said, I was lucky
Yeah.
that my son was at his girlfriend's house. The Disney Channel's in his room. My daughter was here over the weekend. Happy days. I got the whole Disney Channel to myself.
nice, dude.
But
yeah,
you're gonna
it's-
have to go to cinemas to watch this, I think. Unless it's
Um,
on like HBO Max or something. I don't know.
there are many ways to watch this movie.
I will message you after, Paul.
I mean, there's only so many hours in the week, and also we, coupled with load shedding and stuff, I figured it was okay. to
Scheduled
just watch.
power cuts to anyone not in the
Yeah,
know.
if you guys don't know and don't want to explain that again. Checked out that. Checked out another very cool film that I thoroughly enjoyed. Celia and I enjoyed Halloween Kills, the sequel to the most recent Halloween movie, which is meant to be like a direct sequel to the original. You know what? You can go into Rotten Tomato and you can check out all the reviews, and you'll see 4 out of 10 and 5 out of 10 and 6 out of 10, whatever's. Yeah, honestly, and I'm sorry, Troy, but fuck those guys. That was a great horror movie. It was everything a horror and a slasher film should be. It has a story. It hints at some of the backstory and behind the scenes plot elements. The film tried to even be brave by having a greater message than itself. But stylistically on point, absolutely fun film to watch. Damn gruesome, gross. Some of the kills and stuff in that are nasty, but really enjoyed it. So if you guys like horror movies, you like slashers, or you like Michael Myers, go and check it out and let me know in the comments what you thought. And then and then building up to the big one, Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, and I went to go and check it out on opening night. And I made sure that I had my Ghostbuster gear with me. So I had
Nice.
my PKE meter, my trap, and this pair of socks that I had bought, I think about a year ago, at a store called Cotton On. I think Cotton On's also in Australia.
It is.
It is Australian, dude.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. It's an Australian company. And I'd been saving these socks for the premiere of Afterlife because obviously it was meant to be last year. And that didn't happen. It was pushed until this year. So I donned my new Ghostbusters socks and I brought my PKE meter. I left the trap at home. Didn't think it was going to get that intense. And thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a film that I went into with great excitement and a bit of trepidation because, Steve, as you put it, it's kind of like how can they tread the same ground as the film before? How can they make it as good, if not better, as the original? And, you know,
Can't be done.
Can't be done. No, you're right. It can't be done. But what I would
The
like
best
to say...
it can do is pay homage in a meaningful way that, you know, gets fans of the original Ghostbusters, or just hits them in the nostalgia place, you know, get
It's
them in the
hard,
feels.
Steve. We're talking about like
The perfect storm of a movie.
yeah, like I mean,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. I don't care what they say about 2 and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Like they're cult classics. There'll be things that will like Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. They tried to redo Total Recall, failed miserably. But Ghostbusters, I'm the same as you, Paul. I have a lot of. Oh, I don't know. Do I really want to watch it? Because I don't want to ruin the his slimy moment in my life. Like, you know, hey, we got one. Like, I'll never forget that one moment. Like, those were moments that, as a kid, we look back and you remember them watching those movies. You know, who you're going to call.
Exactly right. But here's
You know,
the
so-
thing. Here's the thing about Afterlife. It is not going to be better than the original. It won't supersede the original, but I thought it was really, really good. And it does exactly as you said now, Steve. It pays homage. It's actually a very touching sort of film in that it pays homage to the original in a good way, but it is also its own thing. And it does do very clever little things to link itself to the original film and to link some of the moments to the original film, but it does its own thing. And wow, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I came out of there, I was brimming.
Nice.
And I know I'm a fan. Okay, so like it's easy to impress me and to excite me, and it's also just as easy to upset me. I came out of that film and I was brimming. I was just so wow. I love the characters. The characters in this film are great. They're very Ivan Reitman style characters. Jason Reitman now, who's the director, Ivan Reitman's son. But they got that Ivan Reitman quality, that thing that I love about Ivan Reitman films like Evolution and the original Ghostbusters. They're there. There's just this cool energy, and I really,
Good.
really
The
dug
apple
that
did
film.
not fall far from the tree.
It
That's
didn't.
encouraging to know. For a
And the
humor
is spot on.
die-hard Ghostbusters fan to not be jaded after a new Ghostbusters film, I think that's the highest praise you can give.
I
like-
want the toys, dude.
But Paul, you are also
I'm bringing
just a
the
very positive
toys.
dude.
I am. I'm a very up person when it comes to stuff. Yeah. No, I'm guilty.
But still, that's lovely to hear, man. Very gratifying. Okay, next, bringing the toys. I don't know how that would help you, Paul, but it's good to know. Australian Ghostbusters fans, head to AFI.
There's a moment in there, Steve, and just before we move on from this movie, sorry, and I know, but like, and I'm chewing it here.
Good.
But there's a moment in there where you're gonna go, like, you're gonna just be so glad you own an Ecto 1 as a toy, because that's the thing. Like, I love Ghostbusters, and I have the 4 toys of the Ghostbusters, but I'm very much more interested in the props of Ghostbusters. So I don't have my own Ecto 1 or anything like that. I am now very much in the market to get myself a cool Ecto 1 toy that I can load up with Ghostbusters. And I, as a Ghostbusters fan, am very happy to load it up with the originals and with the new kids. Lucky and Phoebe and Trevor and Podcast, they're great characters. I really dig them. And I just, when you watch that film, you get that feeling of playing with the toys and that adventure. I don't know. I just really dug it. I know I'm very up. Take it with a grain of salt. You know, your results may vary, but I was so happy. I was much happier about this film the biggest difference that Afterlife has over the remake is that the remake is 50% good because I felt that it was good halfway through, and then the film kind of falls flat with some fun points of
You're
humor.
talking about Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, the something, I think they call it like Answer the Call or some shit like that. That film had a lot of good ingredients, but it has a terrible ending, a very very shit and annoying ending that I hate.
Hemsworth disco dancing on Times Square.
Yeah, I really really hate that, and also I hate in the original that they made the villain a person, that it wasn't some powerful big ghostly kind of thing. And I feel like Afterlife just really does make up for a lot of the sins that that film committed. Even though I don't hate that film, I quite enjoyed that film, the Answer the Call film. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I enjoyed it. But Afterlife, I love Afterlife. Anyway, enough. Paul is hitting by.
I swear I've seen
Well,
that Ecto.
Steve, I
I've seen
think
that Ecto one
maybe
somewhere.
I'm going to have to organize an Ecto 1. I'm going to have to organize an Ecto 1 for Paul, I think.
Cool.
Bro, that shipping charge is not to be sneered at. It's evil. It's evil.
Well-
Pure evil.
Oh, to ship to South Africa?
Yeah.
Mm.
Gross. And
Oh,
I don't know
really?
when next I'm gonna be there, man. So if it
Well,
sits
there are
with me,
there are mail forwarding services that are opening up in Australia now that I know of.
Well,
I
Paul,
mean,
you need to add me on Facebook straight away, and I'm going to get you an Ecto 1. In actual fact, I know I've got an Ecto 1 coming in from the US. I'm going to put it aside for you.
AFI is in the AO. He's operating.
Steve
man.
warned me about AFI. He
Yeah,
was like, "Oh,
no.
Nick's gonna sell you some toys."
It's
Not
trouble.
sell. No, not sell. This is a pure gift, sir.
Oh shit, dude! Wow.
Easy.
Okay.
Easy.
Easy.
we'll
Well-
keep your pockets clean, Nick, my man.
Well, just so you guys know as well,
accessories. They'll sort me out nicely.
I use a service called MyUS. We're not sponsored, by the way. MyUS, get on that shit, sponsor us. I use a service called MyUS to send stuff from America to South Africa because they're reliable. I know other members of the Berg Force also use MyUS. They're great because they package your stuff, and it's a mail forwarding service, and it's really great. There's also MyUK, which is awesome. So if you are a South African and you're listening to this podcast, or you're somebody who lives in the UK who's got friends and family in South Africa, you can also use MyUK as a forwarding service. And I believe that My Australia has also just started.
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
We have an
So-
AFI forwarding service too.
Right? Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how Australian was that, right? Anyway,
Needs some work.
it does need some work.
Yeah,
I wasn't even trying. I wasn't even trying.
Oh.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway,
okay.
enough
Shall we
Paul
move the agenda?
Ghostbusters-ness. Let's move. Yeah.
The hot button topic. I'm dying to pick your brain, Nick.
Yeah.
Tell me about HasLab. Have you got
Oh.
HasLab product in the past, or is the Sky Striker the first?
So HasLab, yes, it's one of those gifts that keep on giving. Good old HasLab. Where do we begin with HasLab? Let's be realistic. Now, if we just talk about the product at all, I think we can't go back to the O-ring because we don't have the molds. Oh my goodness, what is this? There's an Ace pilot as an O-ring. This is why I mentioned earlier on in the program about how if the Striker is, the Striker is going to be backed. It's as simple as that. It's not, regardless what the amounts are on there at the moment, it will actually get backed. I can tell you that. There's very slim chances it's not going to. The reason for it is if this gets back, they'll move to the USS Flag and they'll continue to do the thing like the Dummy Transformers and the Ransor at the moment. Now, the thing with the US, like the Striker, the fact that you see all these flames and all those little extra bits and pieces that we've always wanted to do as the jets flying along, that to me has finally brought the GI Joe 3 3/4 inch line from vintage to modern back to vintage, but into the modern era of vintage. So they've combined it all together. Like from what I'm told, the plastic of it is a little bit more sturdier. The coloring, the detail has gone exponentially on top of the original 83. And then you've got the flip side of it. A 1983 Sky Striker mint in box ranges anywhere between, mint with box is about $500 Australian up to $1,000. That's the realization. A striker complete with parachutes sells for, well, look, a striker on its own, I sell them for $250 Australian every day. That's what they sell for. No parachutes. With parachutes, they're about $350, $400. The parachutes are very, very hard to get because once you touch them, because of the plastic, they just disintegrate. That's why I love the fabric style.
I couldn't believe they were made like that. When I first handled the parachute, I was like, how do any of these exist at all? How do these little
basically a
strings
shopping
even
packet.
attach? It's a shopping packet. It's the kind of
is.
parachute material that you'd expect to find at a dollar store with a little like green army man attached. You know, one of those pre-posed guys. Crazy.
And that's the funny thing, though. A lot of people go, well, it's really crappy. Yeah, but they don't exist. So, you know, that's why you're paying for it. Now, having said that, let's look at the realization. On HasLab right now, let's just say you live in America, you're laughing. You know, it's $229 US retail, but, which a lot of people don't realize, and it's one thing that I've always knuckled into Australian buyers is you don't pay $229. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you got 5 guys in Australia and they want to band together to save money, which is a smart thing to do, right? That's what you'd do. You'd find 4 other people, you get them shipped over together. This is how it would work out. Because you got New York and LA are the main points of where your shop out places are. Like I think is it the My USA thing you were saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's New York and LA. They're the two because that's where the ports are. So you're looking at anywhere between 8 and 11%.
Florida, yeah.
Florida, sorry, there's another one.
Yeah.
Florida, yeah. So you're looking at about 8 to 11% sales tax. So all of a sudden, let's just say 5 guys get it. It's now gone from $229 all the way up to about $254. So that's actually the retail price for that is actually $254 US. A lot of people don't realize it because we jump on the website and see $229. That's what I'm paying, but it's not. Then you got to look at the realization of shipping them over. Now, let's just say you only get one. To ship a normal striker boxed over here costs $100 US. The reason why I know that is because I've done it. So this one is actually going to be a little bit more heavier than the normal 83 striker. So even if you worked it off 100, you're now at 354 US. Now, after you do that, you've still got to get it into Australia, right? Now, with Hasbro, they invoice everything. So it gets GST applicable because it's coming from the US. So we've got to add another 10%. And all of a sudden, we're at 389 US. And that's fine. So we're around the 400 US, depending on the exchange rate. You're looking at about $500 to $500, $550 Australian to get one in if you get one. If you buy more than one, you've also got to pay a 5% import tax on top of that because it goes over $1,000. Now, the thing that I really get frustrated about, I listened to your last program and I spoke to Steve about this. It was a great conversation. And the thing that got me was the biggest part of bringing them over is everyone would love to have them really cheap like a normal person would. I'd love to. So I went back on it. I listened to it and I went, you know what, Paul's right. This is ridiculous. Who on earth, for starters, puts out a product like this at Christmas like we don't have enough money to spend? I mean, the average rent in Australia is $350 to $400 a week. So you want a family to spend a whole week's rent on a toy. And then on top
puts things
of
in
that,
perspective, doesn't it? It's become a rich
does.
man's game, man. This toy
Rich
collecting
man
thing,
game.
you can't be thrifty anymore. Like, if you want to be collecting modern toys, it takes pretty deep pockets. It's no joke, man.
Well, this is where AFI is different. And this is where I am different. And I've always strongly believed that if I wanted to do this, when I first started doing Action Figures Industries July last year, I said to myself, I spent the time in all the Facebook groups. I listened to the good, the bad, the ugly, what people liked, what they didn't like, pre-orders, what they hated, lack of communication. No one responds to emails. So I made a list and I systematically went through it to make sure I could get rid of them. The biggest one I went through was when I looked at HasLab, I went, I'm not touching it. I'm not going to force people to spend $500 2 years before you even see a product. Now, if I could find a supplier that could say, hey, supply me the product just on a deposit basis, and I could get it in and still keep it around almost the same as what it would cost a normal one person with a little bit of margin, I'll do it. So I did find a supplier. So we went to work. So, we hammered out a deal for 50 strikers. And I said very simply, I said, look, I want to be able to land it for one person to buy it in, as we were saying, is about 400 US. So the maximum I want to be selling it is about 550 Australian. Now, if you re-listen to the program, you would have remembered I said it would have cost about $500 to $550 Australian. So my actual margin, and I never talk about what I make on things, but I'm going to tell you boys, straight up and down like 6 o'clock, I'm making about $25 a striker.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this to become rich. Wow. But what I am doing is I want Australian collectors to have the opportunity to say, you know what, I'd love the HasLab striker. I can't afford that. Look, I could afford to do $25 on 4 afterpays, though, through Nick, and then save my money up. And when it's released in 2 years' time, I can pay him. Yeah, for sure I could afford that. Like, let's do the math. $550 divided by 24 months. Okay, well, that's like, what, $20 a month? I can afford $5 a week. That's fine. And that's the reason why I put the striker up there. In actual fact, over December, I'm revamping my entire website, and we're going to have an exclusive section where all the Pulse items will be available through AFI in Australia. If they're a HasLab, they'll be deposit. The Ransor, in actual fact, I was only just discussing the Star Wars Ransor today. It looks like I'll be bringing it in cheaper than what Zing and EB will be.
All right, Zing and EB are the kind of physical stores in Australia for fan culture stuff. Anyone not in the know? Okay, Nick, that's incredible news that you're going to kind of get the HasLab product into the country on your own steam, man. Really does kind of open the door for folks that are otherwise left out in the cold. And this is the big problem with HasLab. Like, anyone who's visiting the website for the first time is prompted, enter your location, United States, United Kingdom. That excludes a lot of the world, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this was my big reservation. The other one is like, I mean, it's a high dollar item that is deceptive in a sense, because it feels like it shouldn't be. It feels like to anyone casually just, oh, it's another Sky Striker. What? They're asking for that? Like, it's a price that's easy to kind of like have your jaw drop to the floor on, because at the end of the day, like, dial the clocks back to when they last did the modern Sky Striker with the single seat cockpit. It's the same shape, it's the same dimensions, but you could get those back in the day for, I don't know, 40 US, thereabouts, even less if you waited for clearance.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, that's a fair point to make. The 25th anniversary, like the last striker that they made, did go on clearance for a certain bit of time. And we could say the same thing for Rise of Cobra. Everyone like looks at me and says, "Oh, you got all those figures for $3," because our Toy World here in Australia put them on clearance. Having said that, the realization is, right now in 2021, if you were to go and buy a boxed 25th anniversary striker, you're paying about 225 US.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with what you're saying there, Steve, because the biggest thing I weighed up was, which would I prefer, the 1983 striker or the HasLab one? So, if you're,
good question. What is
you know what I mean?
What's the answer? What's your answer?
See, it's easy for me because I own an 83 striker.
Yeah.
So I'd get the HasLab one. But let's just say I don't have either one. Now, because it's
O-ring,
though, and this isn't going to be a mint and seal box. This is the other thing too. One thing I learned after like the last 12 months is Americans and Australians, we're very different in collecting. And based on like what I've sold, and I've sold what? I couldn't imagine the amount of items I've sold. Believe it or not, it's a flip side. So Americans buy mostly mint in box off me. Australians, loose. So for an Australian to now spend $400 on something they're going to rip open and put on display, putting in perspective, that's a lot of money.
but you want to get a boxed item, hence the HasLab. It's a no-brainer.
Correct.
Yeah?
But see, even I'm going to
Okay.
open it though. I'm getting two. I'm
Well
getting
then,
two.
Nick. Okay.
I got to open it. I have to. It just looks
Of
so
course.
nice. But
Satisfy your
I agree with
curiosity.
you. I think that should have been a 150. A 150 US price tag on that because it's not classified. See, the information I got out, I'm quite lucky. I get a lot of backdoor information. So when I leaked classified series 1 and 2, and I leaked the Zarana and the Crimson Guard new classifieds that came out, even the Alley Viper and Bat, when I leaked that to the Australian public, I actually got the information that we believed that striker was going to be the classified striker. So when I found out it was the 3 3/4 inch, I went, 229's a lot. So I was the same as you, Steve. I still agree with you 100%. I believe 230, 250 when it lands in your state, that's a lot of money. So for me, yeah, I think that should have been maybe 150, 175 price tag. I could say, yeah, okay, well, that makes sense.
The other thing to consider, and I know I'm treading down this path that I have on multiple occasions said I wouldn't, but it's just something to keep in mind, is that you're buying this toy sight unseen. No one's touched them, no one's felt them. You know, like there's a certain texture and feel and aesthetic joy that you get handling actual vintage. Either you like that or you're indifferent to it. Maybe there is a third category of people who actually are like, no, I don't want to handle the vintage stuff. I want something that's newer, fresher plastic for the fragility issue. But to me, a Sky Striker has a very distinctive feel. So when they made the modern ones in 2011, it just didn't feel right. You know, the plastic has a rougher texture. It's a slightly darker grade, has less glint to it, and that immediately put me off modern Sky Strikers. And then there are a laundry list of other sort of detractors, like the fact that it comes disassembled in the box, so you've now got these additional like seam lines and joints and kibble that the original it was all sort of clean lines on because this was a solid fuselage. Anyways, I digress. So
No.
by plunking down
that.
your money for the HasLab, buying in, as it were, for this experience, you are taking them at their word. And people have been burned in the past. Like there was the issue with the Sentinel's knees, which I believe Hasbro is remedying. But I mean that is a toy that perhaps was a bit more ambitious than remaking a classic. Like that was a brand new thing that obviously was going to be pretty top heavy. That's a lot of plastic.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know how they mucked that one up, Stephen. Like anyone who was looking at that toy had to know you would need to look. The Sentinel and the Galactus, I didn't touch, and I nearly brought him in, but I looked at it and I went, I just don't see. I didn't see the value, and two, it didn't feel right. But that's the thing. Like our generation though is a lot different. Sorry, not our generation, but the generation of collectors, I should say nowadays, are a lot different. They've been brought up differently to you, me, and Paul. You, me, and Paul would go down to the toy shop. We'd grab it off the shelf. We'd be able to see it. There was no such thing as a pre-order. You couldn't pre-order a 1988 Shockwave. If it was in your shop, you got it. If not, you had to drive to the next big W, like that was one of our stores or our next Toy World. If they didn't have it, guess what?
Tough shit.
There was no. That's it. Yeah, there was no eBay.
Yeah.
There was no
elevate
online.
over the catalog shot for the rest of your life.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
yes,
no, totally.
But nowadays, this generation of collectors, it's all about the pre-order.
Yeah. So it's all sight unseen. You don't have any like tactile experience to back it up with. And I've like sometimes I get a toy in and I immediately have buyer's remorse. I'm talking about it like a modern toy, and I'm like, I just kind of retreat back into the stuff I know is always going to hit. And that's kind of my attitude with Sky Striker, I guess. Like, is it worth the gamble? And is it worth the gamble to take on this thing that might surpass the original, but in all likelihood for me, it probably won't. That and the fact that too damn cheap for it.
Well, you know what? The biggest part of what you're saying there is, and the one thing I agree with you here on this again is the fact that let's be realistic. Hasbro's a multi-billion dollar company. Why do we as collectors
Why do they ignore us?
Ignore us? But on top of that, why do we have to crowdfund our own product? Make it. Do your research, and that's it.
I think it's more a case of trying to push this one past the goalpost internally. Like the marketing design team on GI Joe, on Ghostbusters, on whatever Transformers and Star Wars, they have these amazing concepts in mind that they imagine will pull collectors in, pull kids in, pull everyone in. These are the toys they, as designers, as marketers, as people who have a passion for toys, have always wanted to make, have always dreamed of making, and yet they're relegated to putting out the same old Marvel Legends in a 6-inch scale, putting out the same old Star Wars toys in 6-inch scale. Like, these are the high-ticket items that they've always wanted to do, but the money men, the bean counters, the suits, the higher-ups, they choke they stifle these initiatives, and they say to the teams, listen, you can have this toy, but you got to demonstrate the demand for it. This is totally designed by the bottom line guys to ensure that products will sell. You know, if there's something that's slightly out of kilter, something that's perhaps a little bit too ambitious for the accountants, that's taking a swipe at accountants. No, if it's too ambitious for the big boss, if he's like, he knows the reality of like the store shelf and the fact that like you can't in this day and age expect a USS flag to sit like out in the open shelves. Like, it ain't gonna happen. Anyways, I'm totally just basing this off of the industry folk who we've had the pleasure of hearing in podcasts and YouTube channels. Good old Spectre Creative, Bobby Valor, Mark on What's on Your Mind. Yeah, these guys are they're absolutely invaluable resources nowadays in terms of getting insight into what actually has to be done to get toys to us in the first place. And it's a hard sell internally.
And look, especially Bobby Valor, because I deal with him, obviously, as we exclusively sell Action Force in Australia and New Zealand. Bobby, what he's doing is unbelievable. Even the newer stuff coming that I can't speak about,
secret.
that is coming, is wow. I can't say much about that, but you know, having someone who's worked there and has designed the work that he has put in to get Action Force up off the ground is unbelievable. And look, our container is actually on the water right now, on its way here from overseas. So, you know, they'll hit the US and me in December. So Action Force will be at Supernova next year in Australia. I can guarantee that because I'll be there. But I can't wait to have that first Sergeant Slaughter in my hand because I'll be going live and going rip. Here it is.
Excellent.
This one's yours, Zazel.
Eddie's disease. Add that to the 777.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to bring up now as well with the Sky Striker conversation is this monster over here. So
Super
you'll remember
7's turtle party wagon.
Yeah, the party wagon, exactly.
Party wagon.
Our listeners will know that I was very excited at the sort of teaser image for this vehicle. And I do think it's an outstandingly cool toy. I think it's really, really, in total language, rad. It's pretty rad.
Which it is. It does look really rad.
It's amazing, yeah. And inside, it's got some cool details, and it's got the flip-out seat feature from the original, and it's got a removable back plate, and it comes with some tools and some extra like helmets and all kinds of cool stuff. But the thing is, they want 450 USD for this bad boy, and I cannot reconcile that. I'm sorry,
Well,
I'm just
You know what,
Like,
Paul? How
yeah.
much do you think a vintage boxed Ninja Turtle van goes for right now?
Boxed vintage, I think it's anything between 350 and 700 USD, depending on the quality.
About 200 to about 400 Australian. That's all.
Wow.
So you tell me, why would you go and spend? That's 450 US. Again, now add in the sales tax, so you're nearly at 500 US. That's nearly a $700 Australian vehicle. You go buy that, or I tell you what, I'll give you a choice. I'll give you a choice between an original Turtle van and a Technodrome, or you can get the Super 7 Turtle van. Which would you like?
Oh wow, yeah, geez. Of the three, I would.
No.
I mean,
I'll give you a Technodrome and a Turtle van for the same price as the Super 7.
no way, dude. Yeah, no,
100%.
totally. Technodrome and Classic, yeah, all the way.
It
like,
just doesn't. There's no value.
it's ridiculous because this is a situation of and when I know that Steve, you and I we chatted a bit about this on the WhatsApp group, and you know it's a very cool toy, and we you know discussed a few points about it, and you know something that surprised me with this now with the Sky Striker. The Sky Striker is $230. Realistically, it's $250 US. And by comparison to this, the Sky Striker just feels like you're getting more. It feels like you're getting more out of the Sky Striker for $250 than you are out of this.
Yeah,
for,
you could
for
get
500.
2 of them.
You get 2 of
Exactly.
them. Like it's just like even the fact that like Super 7 started off really smartly.
Yeah.
Great product around the right price. If you look over the last 12 months, they are pricing themselves out of the market.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. Like I had guys, I normally will never do this. But this is the first time I actually took to like Instagram. They posted a picture of this and they're all excited. And like I was part of the sea of voices. There's a lot of voices of contempt about this thing. Hey, the fans are not happy that this vehicle is $500.
I went to order
not.
it. I had to like second guess my supplier. I said, "Did you say it's 500 US a case, or is that?" He said, "No, each." I went, "No, that's okay. I'll pass." Because it's going to be popular. I'm like, no one's buying that. If you buy that, I will happily say, "Wow, you're either really, really rich, or you really, really, really just want to have a complete collection, and your wife loves you to death, or you're divorced." One of the like, it has to be something in there because I cannot for the life of me spend 2 weeks rent, because that's what it is,
Yeah.
on a toy.
No, agreed. This is 1 month's rent for me, this this vehicle. I mean, and that's including the shipping. Because the shipping on this will probably be like another $70 or something as well on top of it if I use like a forwarding service, for example. And it's going to be a pretty big box. I mean, my thing is just, I actually put a comment on there. I was like, I hope that the RoboSkull guys got a laugh out of this. I actually tagged the RoboSkull guys. I just like said in this post to Super 7, I was like, how is it that at Skeletron can produce this really awesome vehicle for $230 on their Kickstarter that offers way more than this? How can you guys then justify $450, $500 for this vehicle then? Like, what is Skeletron doing that you guys clearly can't? And
they're changing the game, dude. That's what they're doing.
No, and that's good.
It's going to be
a game changer. I'm so thankful to Skeletron for that.
Ben Conway's a smart guy. Like, it's a beautiful product. The Skeletron vehicle takes the old Action Force, brings it into the modern era. But not only that, you can put it with 3 3/4 inch, 4 inch, or 6 inch. So it doesn't matter what kind of figures you have. If you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, you can use the RoboSkull in that scheme because it will fit.
Yeah,
I can't wait to get my Skeletron,
grindstone toys, pulling in grindstone toys and Marauders to give you retro O-ring style figures, plus the modern Marauders at 4 inch, 6 inch scales. I mean, absolute smart bomb.
Well, they listen.
They raved about that before. Yeah,
they listen. They listen to everyone. Everyone.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that defeats me is when they produced the GI Joe retro range. They came out and said they don't have the molds to do the O-rings. That's why they repurposed the modern ones, which was a load of crap, because now we know it's a load of crap because they've just brought out the Storm Shadow, the Snake Eyes. Ace, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. They brought that out. Now, that is the mold. Now, you're telling me if Hasbro had to come out and put that Snake Eyes on a vintage card, like, I don't know, maybe the Ghostbusters, how they did the retro range there.
Motu Origins.
Or Motu Origins, call me stupid. If you put that on the shelf at $29.99 US, which is a fair price to me, I would pay $30 US for that figure on card. That figure would only cost them about $15, maybe $14 US to produce.
And
at the
Snake Eyes will
very
be even
max.
cheaper because there's no
Ex-
paint apps.
Exactly. Snake Eyes would be a lot cheaper. But you know how many people would buy that by the case? They would run out. There would be shortages
Dude,
across the US.
Listen, if the He-Man, if the Motu Origins boom here in South Africa is anything to go by, I mean, South Africa, like collectors and things like that, it's a pretty small market, let's be fair. But the fact that you can go into a Toys R Us and that you go out of your way, like you phone a toy shop to make sure they got them in stock, and the fact that we are on Facebook groups in South Africa, I know that this is pretty common for the rest of the world, or for like America and the UK and stuff, but in South Africa, the fact that we have actually got Facebook groups of guys going, hey, I just spotted these at, Greenstone Mall Checkers. And the fact that people flock to that place. And when you speak to the sales assistants at these stores, you look at them and you go and buy, and she's like, yo, there's lots of you guys coming in today. She's like, you're like the 10th person today. I've walked with a Toy Zone packet in my hand. I went to the spa after going to buy my toys. I was with Celia, and there was another guy, and he had a Toy Zone packet in his hand, and we kind of gave each other a knowing look because we could both sort of see in each other's bags we had Origins figures, and we gave each other that look, and I was like, "What did you get?" And he's like, "What was it?" I think he got he's like, "I got a Ninja and a Hordak." I'm like, "Nice, dude." And he's like, "You?" I'm like, "Clam Champ."
Oh, that is awesome.
Rad, right?
And I miss that kind of collecting culture because, to be honest, and this is coming back to my philosophy on toy collecting now, like, I want to be able to buy GI Joe at retail. I want to be able to go toy hunting locally. And that's something that's been denied the international market forever. It's so gratifying to hear that at least He-Man fans are getting that back home.
And that's what I want to bring back to Australia, though. That exactly what you said, Steve, is exactly what I want to bring back to Australia. Because you know what? Those days are gone where we could walk into a shop. They knew us by name. They knew what we collected. I still remember going to a comic book shop, and I'd walk in the door before I could even look at a comic book. It'd be like, Nick, it's okay. I've got, issue 422 of Captain America. I've got here a side for you. We don't get that anymore. You walk into Target. Have you got this? If it's not on the shelf, I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
But Nick, do you have a storefront? I mean, you don't have a physical store. It's all online, right?
Not yet. No, I will actually. My house is like a storefront. The amount of collectors that come and stay here and visit. But no, the end goal is to have a
store.
It is. You'd be amazed. I can't wait. You're gonna have to come and visit. You're only up in Townsville. It's only like 20 hours away.
We might be moving to Brisbane next year. We'll see about that.
It's even closer. It's 5 hours.
It's not close at all, though. Honestly,
yeah, no, it's not.
This close and this close. I don't know if I could do 5 hours to go toy hunting, but I miss the physical experience because honestly, you can find anything you want for a price online. So that takes out the kind of the thrill of the chase element. Look, what I want is an impossible dream, really. But since I can't get in my car, go 5 minutes to a store and get the toys that I want, I have to turn to online, and when faced with online, I'm gonna buy the thing that I know and trust. So I'm not gonna buy the Hasbro Pulse, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow, because I'd sooner buy a vintage. Look, they're expensive, but I have been.
I'm happy to buy the.
Yeah,
I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm more than happy to buy the Pulse, Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes.
Well, they're quite cheap because they the Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes is quite cheap. That's actually really cheap when you look at it. I think it's what, 60 US or 40 US, so it's about $75. So I know I tried to actually get those in, and my supplier is still trying to get them for me. And I think that I'd end up landing them. Unfortunately, I'd have to sell them for around I think it's $90 to $100, so they'd be $50 each. Now, to buy a vintage one, a vintage Snake Eyes is about $150 minimum. A Storm Shadow is around $200.
It's cosmically bad timing because anyone who's an avid listener wait for it, Nick. Anyone who's a listener to GI Joburg knows that this year I jumped through hoops and actually got the Swivel Arm 1983 Snake Eyes. Did a neat little review on him if you want to check out the channel. And I also got a vintage Sky Striker. and this is before Hasbro Pulse had made their announcement. So like, I basically fucked myself, man. Like my appetite.
Yeah, but you
for
still
these
got
toys,
Outback.
my appetite for these toys has been removed because
Yeah.
at long last I got these things for myself, and
Oh.
now they decide to remake them.
I,
What a
I can't
fool.
wait for a stun storm
Clearly,
shadow,
I
dude.
needed your hot tips, your insider trading, Nick. I need to know what was coming down the pipeline.
Well, the classified series.
You would have told me that it's a classified Sky Striker, and that wouldn't have helped me at all.
No, yeah,
But,
I can tell you now. Yeah, my information. That's the only time Major Blood I got right.
Okay.
All
Did
the
you know
lines that have
Storm
come out.
Shadow? Did you know about the O-ring stuff coming down the pipe?
Knew the O-ring stuff was coming down the pipe because what
Oh.
happened, you'll notice the retro sort of has almost disappeared. You haven't really heard much about GI Joe Retro, the modern carded one. We had a slight indication that because of the upheaval over the retro, Hasbro had sort of listened. I didn't think for 1 second to be a HasLab item. I thought maybe they're going to bring it back out by starting with the 1982 line and bringing out the straight arms again.
Oof.
The first
Yeah,
13. I mean,
I don't think they should do the straight arms. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a nice sort of vintage knot, but let's not do that. I mean, Motu was smart with giving the extra articulation to those toys and keeping them in the same look, you know. But yeah, that's a whole different conversation. So
Well,
I got
look,
two questions for you, Nick.
okay.
First one, just coming back to the turtle party wagon, is the reason the reason the box vintage sort of price sort of stabilized? Is it because of the various reissues that have been put out recently? I mean,
Yeah.
I was in a Toy World just the other day, and they had that thing in box, and I was like, oh, okay,
really,
wow,
Yeah,
get your turtles
yeah.
fixed.
oh
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Like
Oh.
how much do they go for, more or less? I have like no idea because they you can't find them anywhere online. They're all like brick and mortar store kind of exclusives.
I don't know, 1,200 rand, something
That's
like that.
nothing for that.
It's-
For me, anyway. Like,
It's,
and they've
it's
got
not
all the-
expensive.
They got all the carded, reissues.
the
as
Playmates
well.
ones.
So
Shit,
weird to
dude.
have like minty cards. Like I've got I saved my cards from
Cool, 'cause
back
they had
in the
file cards.
day, and
Yeah.
they're all dog-eared and ripped, and they all feel very almost like they're made of fabric because they're so like bendy
Oh
in
wow.
their hands. But
I-
yeah, it's just funny to feel a recently pressed
Shit.
cardstock.
But those classics
Yeah,
that they
'cause-
re-brought out, they were exactly
Yeah.
the same. Again, they brought the Ninja Turtle line out exactly the same as the original, same as what Ghostbusters did, but yet GI Joe decided to go a completely different way.
Yeah. It's so
And they had
weird
us
because,
convinced. They had us convinced that it was the rivets and the
Yep.
screws and the T-hooks that were prohibitive to O-ring Joe coming back. But hey,
Listen,
like you say, Nick,
has-
they've gone and done it anyway.
Hasbro can say what they want. There's this little company called Black Major Toys,
True.
and we all know of their existence.
Yeah.
And they do fantastic work. And they don't have giant molds that they have managed to buy from somebody who had the molds at Hasbro.
On the
They
contrary,
probably
they've pinched the molds and managed to make up the toys, albeit with a slight departure in quality. I mean, you definitely know you're handling a Black Major or Red Laser figure, not a GI Joe original.
Although I had I was selling the blue bats from the Red Laser. They're actually really good.
Oh,
They
they're
were really,
great,
really good.
man. They are what they are. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you know the
wrong,
difference
like-
between that and the original by far. Like major difference.
And it's
but
also
to
like
an
it's
army
not like
builder, I mean, the possibilities like he already walks the margins of legality. Like Old Black Major, I think he went out of business because he was feeling the heat from Hasbro. But if you make approximations of the originals and you are discreet about it, like that is army builder fodder to high heaven. Like imagine just pressing out thousands of blue shirts. The community would gobble them up. You only need the front row in the photograph to be the originals, right?
Well, they would.
There's
A lot of
something-
people did do it.
Totally.
and there's something to be said about like not necessarily army building, but having troops, like disposable troops in your toy army, because
What toys that didn't cost an arm and a leg, so you feel no shame in putting firecrackers in them?
no, I don't mean
dear.
disposable like
we
that.
can't
I'm
do that
talking-
anymore.
Oh,
No,
God.
I don't mean
Those are
disposable
the
like
days,
that. I
my
mean
friends.
like I'm talking about their roles. They're like their role in playtime. Like it's a Cobra Trooper. It's a Cobra Viper.
In
There is
playtime.
you know like of course. I mean like we play with the toys. Whatever. Um, it's cool to have like more than one Viper. Like if you can even if you could squeeze like 2 or 3 Vipers in your like vintage GI Joe collection, that's great because then you can do some cool stuff with that. You know, you can have a squad of
Sure.
Vipers. You know, and
The
that's where I
Viper
think
mold hasn't popped up in
uh,
the bootleg game, has it? I don't think it has.
No, I've never. I was one thing I was amazed. Black Major never did because
Well,
the bat, Snake Eyes, yeah, but or the Night Viper, but the Viper
Night
never.
Viper, Alley Vipers,
Yeah, but they never did the
Viper
Viper.
Snow Serpents.
Viper already had problems in the mid 2000s, in 2005, when they did that Pit Viper 5-pack. Already the crotch tooling had been lost. So they used the Battle Android Trooper, and that is an ill-fitted piece. Anyone with
But-
that set, do not bend your figures at the hips. Do not put them into a 90-degree like sitting position. Otherwise, you will have
Your
flyaway
crotch firing
action.
action.
Nick, tell me, man, the GI Joe community is a beast that we all are familiar with. Like, how does it compare to like the Transformers bunch or the Ghostbusters bunch or the Doctor Who bunch? Like, are there distinctive characteristics, or are all collectors pretty much painted with the same brush?
No, they're definitely not painted with the same brush. I
Ooh.
can definitely be testament. I've dealt with every type of collector and every different range of what they collect over the last 12 months. I think I can safely say that. I think look, 80% of the collecting community out there is almost painted with the same brush. The realization is everybody wants to obviously get it as cheap as possible. I mean, we're human beings. When we're buying something, because we collect so much, we want to get the best bang for our buck, right? That's what we want. That's human nature. I mean, if you see something for $20, you see the same thing for $40 on a table, you're going to buy the $20 one. Now, apart from that, your Doctor Who collectors are just, wow. You know what? They don't get very much Doctor Who stuff in Australia. So, you know, they go for it. Fear does not stop them when it comes to like buying Doctor Who. That's all, like literally all I can say. Some GI Joe collectors are the same. Transformer collectors are really cool because, you know, they know their products. Like, I'm lucky that I've made friends with a lot of the people that buy off me, and that's one thing that I love. But, you know, I can ring, say, Jason Murray from TCCA or Jonathan Hawkins, and we could video chat for 2 hours and sort out a bulk load of Transformers that came in. I can ring my boy David Vanderbilt, who literally has one of the biggest collections in Australia, or Jaden Jarvis over in WA, or even Josh Tipper, who used to be one of the biggest GI Joe collectors, say, guys, I've got this. I actually can't figure out what it is. Oh, yeah, this goes here, this goes there. You know, like those guys are great. Star Wars collectors are really good.
Take your time.
Look, all collectors have pros and cons. They're interesting. Like, I've never really dealt with a lot of Star Wars collectors. They're very picky on their mint in box stuff. They like their stuff pristine, which is unfortunately in this day and age, nothing's pristine. It's only as best as we possibly can get. But Ghostbusters, anyone from the 80s collectors are mad. They will take whatever you got, Steve, if it's from the 80s. I'm telling you, one of the biggest ones that I deal with is Andrew Burnett up in Queensland. That boy, if he sees anything Ghostbusters, if I've got a Slimer, no one else is winning that. No one else is buying it. It's the same with one of the guys, Stephen Ludas, great guy in South Australia, for GI Joe or any sort of line. If there's a female trooper or something, don't even bother bidding against him, because you know what? You're not going to win. So there's some really cool guys, but it's testament to that these guys have their own personality. So it's not so much that they collect a line. They really love what they want, and they're very particular in what they, you know, what they
I was
collect.
about to say, everyone's got their quirks, I guess.
Yeah, look, Zazel's a prime example. Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
Like, I
And
literally just
any
messaged him
character
straight away.
connected to Sergeant Slaughter, like
Oh yeah.
because of the PlayMotion series that he's doing, like he's got a lot of like fighters, like the Street Fighter line, which to a lot of Joe collectors that kind of doesn't really enter their lexicon. He buys that up like crazy, so that he's
Oh,
got
yeah,
this
yeah.
core of like wrestlers and
I've got
other
a
sort of
box
martial
here
arts
for him.
fighters.
I've
do
literally
you
got a
now?
box of parts here for him that he said, "Oh, I'm doing all this sort of stuff." I said, "Just let me know what sort of stuff you need. I'm just gonna send him up a bunch of like Mercer heads and body parts so he can create his like the shows that you were talking about."
That's
Yeah,
so rad.
yeah. So I like, but again, you don't mind doing stuff like that because for a guy like Zazel, he loves what he does.
And he shows it off on YouTube.
Oh yeah, he
Awesome.
loves it.
Nick, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, man. I know we've been jawing for over 2 hours now. But if there's anything else that you'd like to sink your teeth into, man, don't let me stop you.
Oh look, no, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. Like I said, I've listened to Joburg for the last 2 years, and it's my walk back from the gym in the morning. Nice little walk. I get to listen to that, so I do my 2-hour walk listening to it.
But you wouldn't listen to us while pushing weights, right? Or,
No,
you
no.
got your like get pumped up
you
kind of
need power
jams.
music.
I've got my You Got the Touch from Transformers playing when I'm doing that. So
Amazing.
yeah, I listen to my Transformers when I'm training. But look, I guess at the end of the day, anyone out there, feel free to jump on, like us on Facebook,
Dare
Action
to be
Figures Industries, join the group. Where if you're looking for something and you can't find it, the beautiful thing with me is you can add me on Facebook and I'll respond.
Hunt it down.
Yeah, I'll hunt it down.
So,
You have a very specific set of skills.
so
if you want it,
basically,
I'll get it.
if you need something strange in your neighborhood, you're the guy
Who
to
are you
call,
going to
right?
call? That's
Yeah.
right. It only happened 3 days ago with Star Wars. I put up one Star Wars item, which was the throne room from HasLab, Hasbro Pulse. It sold out, and I said, "Does anyone want anything else?" And they went, "Here's a challenge." I went, "Okay, yeah, I can get 2 cases of that. What else?" I was on the phone for like 6 hours. Yeah, so hey, who are you going to call? AFI.
All right, and the group obviously is the place to get all the updates. But do you do live auctions on the group, or do you go onto specific like I know there's the GI Joe Australia page.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with me, what I do is I've got my own group, Action Figures Industry Group. So we've got our page, and you can join via the link. But all my live auctions. So basically, if you're an AFI member, you're going to get first dibs at anything I have for sale before it goes onto the website and before it goes anywhere else.
Sweet.
Wow, guys,
well,
get your membership. Get in there.
It's not even a membership. Like, this is an amazing thing about our age. Like, you just click join and it's done.
That's
the
it.
Notifications immediately start bombarding you.
Yeah, you too
I
can
think-
join a 14-day week auction.
Yeah, jeez. My entire newsfeed was like AFI this, AFI that. I was like Star Wars, Doctor Who, my goodness, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, the list goes on. Awesome, Nick. Very cool. Paul, let's throw up our Patreon wall and just say a hearty thank you to everyone who does support us.
All of these sexy people.
Keep the lights
Yeah.
running at GI Joburg. So thank you, Berg Force.
And then, guys, I mean, we do this every time, but it's always cool to show you. We have this great collection of merchandise, which will be appearing on your screen now. It's these shirts and more. So if you want to get yourself an official GI Joburg, but a not so official GI Joe shirt, go and hit up our Teespring store. The link is also in the description below. And as Stephen mentioned earlier, if you want to join the Berg Force, go and hit up our Patreon. The link is also in the description below. And while I'm on that, Steve, seeing as it was your birthday, just wanted to show you a picture of your present.
What?
Ta-da!
Oh, very nice.
We were talking about Red Laser and Black Major. Paul has gotten me a wonderful knockoff blue shirt with the red red face mask. Such a nice touch that the original never had.
I just thought, hey, cool, that's like such a cool Steven figure, you know, and Hopefully, it can be united with you soon enough. I still actually need to have it in my possession, but it is. I have paid for it already. It's sitting with other stuff. So yeah,
Tasty.
to be revealed. And then also just a small note. My girlfriend is amazing, and I know I say this a lot, but even she was like, if you come into the house with a $500 Party Wagon, I don't know, you know. So
Ouch.
that is the final barometer on the Party Wagon. And hey, listen, I don't disagree with her.
100%.
If I walked in with a $500 Proton pack from HasLab, which I don't even know how I would manage that, but if I did, she would be more okay with that. So that's just to show you the scale of power
Hey,
that
good
these
looking.
collectibles have.
The beautiful thing there too is with the Proton pack, at least you could say, honey, I heard a ghost upstairs. I just want to be prepared. You can't do that with the van.
Exactly. And also with the Proton pack, as like her and I discussed, because we discussed this, because I figured it was quite an adult conversation for us to have as a couple. This is a Proton pack I can wear to every convention. I can wear it to every costume party, and I can wear it to every Halloween until it or myself dies. So, you know.
And for Celia only, you can wear the Proton pack.
But it's just the
And
Proton pack.
And nothing but the Proton pack.
See, I didn't know Paul that well. I was going there, Steve, but I thought, you know what? I'm sure you're rolling on that one.
Across the streams. Anyway.
Guys, on the way out, one last thing. Let's rip open Postbox the Pit because we got a lovely message from G7M9W on YouTube. He says, "Greetings, gents. On the last podcast, you mentioned Copperhead, and I got thinking a bit more about his possible run-ins with Gung Ho in the Bayou. Since CH has a gambling habit and GH was a knife fighter, wouldn't it have been interesting if at some point in the distant past, Copperhead bet against Gung Ho in a knife fight and lost? Boom! Instant grudge. Haha. Anyway, just 2 cents from me. Best wishes. G7M9W." Thanks, bro. Yeah,
I love
that is a
that.
fantastic little bit of backstory. And I meant to say, and I keep meaning to say, and I have just forgotten to say it, that the Mudbuster's coloring is a lot like the old water moccasin. And to my mind, Copperhead isn't just a fan boat driver. Like, he loves anything with a big engine. And he's a gambling man. And he lives in, the rough parts of the country. So, like, if you were to recast the Mudbuster as a Cobra vehicle, I think the guy behind the wheel would definitely be Copperhead.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
100%. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it looks so
Nice.
cool. Andrew, I
Teal,
hope you're hearing
baby.
that.
Yeah.
And
Some
Andrew's
Copperhead
like, I'm
love
getting
at long
myself
last."
a green Mudbuster right now.
Yep.
I've
Goes
got
to
2
show
here.
that-
Let me put.
Yeah? Is it authentically sun damaged? Like, the cool thing about mine is that it's kind of gone a little bit green.
Oh,
Which-
no, these are
no.
proper colors, so they're probably not as good as
Alright.
yours.
No,
Well, yours is better. I like the sun damaged ones because the
Mine is
real ones are.
character.
Yeah, well, I feel like that should be the color, though.
Because with that teal coloring, it's a lot like the Dreadnought Swampfire.
Yeah,
that's what-
exactly.
Immediately screams Dreadnought to me. Like,
But
the
does yours
Thunder
change
Machine
colour?
isn't that practical given the kind of like terrain that the Dreadnoughts would be encountering in their neck of the woods. So yeah, the options are endless, and if you've got access to like repro stickers, slap some Cobra decals on there, and bam, it's easy, too easy. Steve's custom tips. Tune in next week for more. All right, guys, thanks for coming with us on this adventure. Thank you, Nicholas, for joining us, and yeah, man, it's been a blast. We could definitely have you again, man. This is
Oh,
yeah,
I would be honored.
Yo Joburg.
Yo, Joe. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Berg, 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 berg. Berg, 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 berg.
Jeez, we've lost our identity. Bloody Ghostbusters podcast.
Berg, 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 berg.